I have wanted the answer to this question for a very long time. How do I study? What are the best ways to study? And how can I use them? Right? And as you would think, this has sent me down a very deep, dark, stressful rabbit hole from which I continue to fall in like Alice. The hope in this episode is that I can give you these steps in the process. It's actually a 5-step process that you could engage in, that you could use to actually study hopefully more effectively. What is step number 1? Well, step number 1 is previewing the material. Before you even get to the class, before you even get to the lecture, we should have encountered the information beforehand. This is something that I very much regret not doing. I can tell you why. The first time I used to go in class all the time, it is up until the university level actually. While I'm being taught the information, I am trying to process it, connect it, see how it makes sense, and also consume more information at the same time, which is very difficult.
It's too hard.
Some persons actually do the final exam paper of a course before they even take the course. The reason being is that they come in contact with all the terms and the definitions and like the equations, the principles outlined in that subject, even though they don't know what they are. So they even familiarize themselves with the words and the terms so that when they actually do learn them, I've seen that before. It is like you have a construction site that is going to build a house or a very large building. It's not being built yet. However, you build the road to the building first, so that whenever that building does go up, that structure does go up, the road to it is already there. And it's the same thing in our brains in a way. When we preview material, we are building those roads. We don't know where we're building them to yet because we don't understand the information. But when we do understand the information, it's like a aha moment. Like, this makes sense to this and this makes sense to that. That is why previewing material is so important. And it's actually the first step in the entire study process, which I very much did not do and kind of regret. But now I know better now. So going forward when learning anything, I am going to preview the material. Step number 2, kind of obvious, very, very obvious, but still we take it for granted, and especially in a post-COVID society, attending class. And if you have the option to attend class in person or while it's live, like attending class live or in person. I sound like such a terrible, why do I make myself out to sound like such a bad student? Anyhow, when I was going through COVID, we had live sessions on Zoom, but they were recorded. So I was taking advantage. So if I didn't feel like going to class, I didn't go to class, and I just watched the recorded session. What came very clear to me very quickly was that is a disadvantage. Even though I didn't feel like going, should have gone. Why? Because I am counting on the students in the class to ask the exact questions that I have in my brain so that I can understand. And what used to happen, they didn't. Some of the questions I had, they never asked. So then I had to go and do more work to understand the topic that we were doing.
I was really young and dumb.
But if you have class in person, in a structured environment, in an institution like a school, or you're doing classes online, attend those even though it may be recorded. So after you have familiarized yourself beforehand by previewing the material, there are things that you obviously do not understand in depth. When you go to the class in person, you're going to be able to ask those questions to suffice you to make those connections for yourself. In addition, there are very much less distractions in attending class in person or when it's live because everybody around is focused. We're in a building with white walls, with little distractions, and there's one person to focus on. Given if you are not able to attend class, what do you then do? If that is the case, ensure that as soon as possible, you get notes from someone that is trusted. A good substitute if you have missed class in a group study session, let those you are in a group with teach you what they learned in class. So step number 3 is to review. In this review, what you want to know is get clear on the things that you know in depth, you know well, that you could easily teach someone else because you know it in such detail, versus the things that you have no idea, you have no clue what is going on, and that you're going to need more understanding. And the purpose of review is so you know how to focus on how to strategize and attack the next step, which is study. So when you study, you are filling in those gaps, right? You are looking at the things you don't know well, and you are attacking those first. We want to strengthen your weaknesses before we level up the strengths, okay? So as I was talking about before, we see how the quote unquote what everyone thinks is study is step number 4 of 5.
So crazy.
A lot of persons have a different ways to interpret studying. As I said before, it's just a form of learning where we are trying to put information on our brain, make sure it stays, and recall it when we need it. The reason why you hear so much about active recall and spaced repetition is because it's how we are kind of expected to perform in the current educational system. So when studying, using active recall, we kind of usually study by trying to like shove stuff into our brain. So read as many pages as possible, reread as many pages as possible, rewrite as many of the notes as possible. As I said, many of us end up just rewriting the entire textbook as many times as we can, and we think that's the most efficient way to learn. Well, no. Instead of shoving things into our brain, active recall, the whole purpose is to like testing ourselves, like pulling things out of our brain. So in active recall, we learn by retrieving information from our brain. So it's like taking a topic we want and creating questions by means of our note taking that then we test ourselves on. So see, it's kind of important. Each step leads to the other. Read the questions we make when note taking, and then reviewing what we know from what we don't know sets up what we actually need to study. And by doing that, we want to study in the same way we're going to be, our performance is going to be tested by way of exams. We want to make our studying as close to what we're actually going to be asked to do on our tests, on our exams, so we can get as best a grade as possible. I want to leave this with you with reference to active recall, because I've been trying to hammer home this point so many times, but I hope you get the gist of it today. Despite its popularity, scientific research consistently and emphatically emphasizes the following point: that reading and rereading notes is classed as an ineffective, time-consuming study technique that does little to significantly improve memory, retention, and academic performance. Passive learning techniques such as rereading, highlighting, summarizing notes are all low-utility methods of studying and learning. So please, you see that highlighting, rereading, and rewriting all you know? Stop. That stops today. I beg you. Teach someone else the topic as in much detail as possible. Use the Feynman technique. Figure out what you are weak on. Try to learn it and explain it in simple language, like if you're speaking to a 5-year-old. Because you can only communicate it in that way if you really truly understand it and put it in simple language. We ain't trying to do that, right? Your boy been there. I'm trying to save you. You hurt. The pain. The struggle. I want you to be better than I was. I'm trying to be my own man, trying to give advice. Spaced repetition. This is something else we can put into our arsenal. Essentially, spaced repetition is the opposite of cramming. And instead of learning in a short period of time, you're extending the time horizon. You're extending the time you're given to learn this thing. And that's what school is, because set it up in terms, you got all this time to learn this material. By the end, we should be quizzed and be able to like perform on exams. Yay! So the analogy I'm gonna give is training the brain like a muscle, because I always talking about exercising, because the boy like to be healthy somewhat, and gym life, the right life. Wink, wink.
Game? What's a game?
So if you training biceps and you trying to get the most growth possible in these biceps, you ain't gonna go and pick up the 50-pound dumbbells. That's you heaviest weight you could curl, and try and do the 50s and struggle and be making yourself shame and wobbly and gain spaghetti legs and not getting it done, right? You probably can start by doing a way lighter weight and giving your body some time to adjust and actually strengthen itself. Spaced repetition takes a similar way of thinking but applies it to learning. What we're gonna do is, in the beginning, we are going to shorten the time between sessions of our learning. So do the sessions more regularly, and as we understand the material, then we can start to space out the time in which we do those sessions. So when you pair active recall and spaced repetition, you got a nice foundation to actually be better at studying overall. Yay! Awesome! Woo, woo, woo for us. So step number 5, we want to check, we want to evaluate, we want to assess what is going on. What does that mean? How well are we understanding what we actually know? Could we easily relate to someone else? Could we replace ourselves with the lecturer or the teacher and teach that topic to an entire class? Very interesting question. Most of the times to me it was no, because I was hard ears and inhale. I hope you could say yes to that question. Can you be improving in study techniques? Step number 5 is essentially you evaluating yourself. Where do you need to improve? What is going good? What can you continue to iterate and optimize and improve on to be in an even better position. So we can actually suddenly be learning more information in less time and then be more efficient and effective and improve. Like the same way how we could go in the gym and move some weight and get stronger, our brain improves as well. Neuroplasticity. Anyhow, if you don't know that, I'll Google it. But yeah, this is the process. We want to preview the material, because same way how you had to, like, if you was to close your eyes and like feel some material, you go into a fabric store and feel some material and thing. When you present it with that at another time, your brain is gonna, oh, this is familiar. And just being in that state, knowing that it's familiar, we're gonna approach it a lot different. You're gonna have a little more confidence, a little more swag. You can't in class use the mind. And yes, ma'am, I know what that is because I watched a YouTube video on that. That used to be me, by the way. Like, anyhow.
Such a nerd.
So actually attend class and actually come to learn something. Don't just come to sit down and like vibe with your friends. Review. So between when class finish and when you actually start studying, look and identify what you know and what you don't know. Attack the stuff you don't know first. Go over the stuff you know a little less often. That's when we come to studying. Don't try to shove things in your brain by rereading the whole or rereading or rewriting the whole book. Create questions, answer those questions on a regular basis. Teach other people the topic. Go over some YouTube videos. Do something different other than rewriting and reading notes. The internet is filled with different ways you can approach studying. I'm not going to get into all those today. That is not the purpose of this video. This is to talk about the process. Where can you improve? Right? Is this actually working? Do you have to change up? Some people, everybody, it doesn't work out the same way that spaced repetition and active recall helps them the same amount to each person. For me, spaced repetition and active recall was awesome. For other people, it may not be. And you got to figure out what that is for you. So evaluate, see where you need to improve in certain areas, and then go through the process again for your next session and the next lecture after that. And in the rest of your life when you are trying to learn. Because this is a good starting point. This is a good foundation for anybody who's trying to learn. And if you do not want to learn, well, life is going to be very hard because we are all continually learning in some shape or some form or some fashion.
Knowledge is power.
And I hope it has been fun, entertaining, and you have learned something today. And it helps you in further situations when you are in your unique learning environment. You can use this process step by step to improve how you end up learning, studying in future.
You thought I was finished. Wrong. Two things. I have a newsletter that goes over awesome, similar information like this that is sent into your inbox every week. Stay ahead so that you can enjoy that experience. Number two, this over here is for you. Yes, that is just for you. Nobody else. Just you.